research. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here with some brilliant people like you, this community. I'm so honored. Without further ado, I'm going to move on, particularly due to the delay because of the technical difficulties. So, as Cecilia mentioned, my background is in communication disorders and literacy, the cognitive processes of reading, particularly in Arabic. After finishing my first PhD, I wasn't fully convinced about how Arabic works, so I decided to pursue a second PhD to investigate deeply how Arabic reading works, because I'm not convinced it's a matter of translation from English research or from the English findings. And anyone who is involved with research on different orthographies will understand exactly what I mean, because it's not a matter of translation, as I said. So I'm hoping today to begin by explaining some of the characteristics or features that are peculiar, specific to Arabic language, and then I'm hoping to present to you a couple of studies we have conducted and on Arabic letter knowledge, and also a couple of studies on morphological knowledge in Arabic. And I would end with a longitudinal study that is still work in progress, and some implications for assessment and instruction. And I would like, before I begin, to acknowledge my contributors, my collaborators, particularly Dr. John Kirby, who was my ex-mentor at Queen's University. So some people have told me bluntly, straightforward, who cares about Arabic? And I always argue that we care, but we should care about Arabic in a way or another. Not only it's one of UNESCO's 6 official languages, it's also spoken, the latest I checked, by 2/3 of a billion across the globe. So, and the numbers are increasing, on the rise. Arabic orthography, its writing system, is used by also people who don't speak it. So like in Iran or in, sorry, this is very sensitive. In Urdu or Pashto, they use the Arabic writing system as well. And it is one of the fastest growing languages in the United States, and particularly in northern Canada as well, because of the influx of immigrants due to the global situation. Arabic literacy research is very limited relatively compared to research in other languages. This is just a map showing where Arabic orthography is used. And I think if I were to update this map, I would add more green to Northern America as well, because there is a large number of speakers of this language. Arabic language is different from Indo-European language. It's a Semitic language. It has a difference between its spoken and its written, the standard form. There are differences, yet there is an overlap in similarities, and I will talk about this later. Arabic is also characterized by a dense morphology, and I will elaborate on this later. Arabic orthography has certain features. First of all, it goes from right to left as opposed to left to right. This has implications for instructions of learners of English as a second language, Arabic learners of English as a second language. It has an abjad consonantal system. Abjad means consonants. So it's comprised of 28 consonants. And 2 of those consonants have dual functions. Sometimes they act as long vowels, and other times they act as consonants. Arabic is also acrophonic, meaning what the name of the letter, let's say it's B, it has the sound in it. In English, we have something like this. For example, B begins with the sound B, but X or W do not begin with the same sound. But with Arabic letters, the sounds have the same sounds or phonemes in the name of the letter. So this kind of close relationship between the letter name and the sound, and this has implications for learning as well. Arabic has short vowels that are optionally added, but you will find them in classical texts, in religious texts, in poetry, books, even for older students. You will find them also, of course, for children's books. Arabic short vowels are not letters. They are diacritics superscripted on words, and they have a lot of weight as far as decoding how to pronounce a word, as far as morphosyntactic functions as well. So although they might be omitted, not visually present, they have linguistic bearing. They have linguistic representation. So I would, as a skilled reader, I could read a word being vowelized in a certain way. For example, the ending of "u" on the word or the letter, the final letter, because I know that this word happens to be the subject of the verb in the sentence. Therefore, it should have the "u" sound at the end. In that respect, we call this case marking, and it is nominative. Arabic short vowels, I will elaborate furthermore on in a minute. But Arabic orthography, when it has the vowels added, we call it transparent orthography. And when the short vowels are omitted, it's known as opaque or deep orthography. But this kind of explanation, I find it really kind of shallow. It touches on the orthographic depth hypothesis, for those of you who are aware, like they know about it, which was proposed in the early 90s. And basically, it divided the Indo-European languages into two on a continuum from deep to transparent. And let me show it. So supposedly, this is the orthographic depth hypothesis, and it's describing orthographies, whether they are transparent or opaque. So English is an opaque, and the transparency or opacity has to do with the grapheme phoneme correspondence or relationship, how much they match with each other. So English has kind of a different peculiar way because it's not graphemically represented or phonemically represented in the same way we write. So for example, the letter C could be produced as S sound or as a cat sound. The IGHT in flight, for example, that's pronounced differently. If I were to read it in a transparent way, I would say egg hit instead of ait. So in that respect, but the orthographic depth hypothesis, I argue, it was put forth to explain Indo-European languages, not Semitic languages. So going back to Arabic being transparent versus opaque, when you add the short vowels, it aids with decoding, so it becomes accurate. But there are other aspects about Arabic orthography that even in the best case scenario where it is transparent, it is still not that transparent or equally transparent as other languages such as Finnish or Italian. Arabic letters have visual similarities. Sometimes the letter shape is the same. The only difference is in the dot being added or not added, or being placed on top or inside the basic shape of the letter. These are just examples of two words written pronounced differently based on the type of vowel. So the yellow highlights, it shows the diacritic or short vowels that are added to the word. And in the first example, we read it as laiba, which means he played, or to play, the basic verb. In the second one, we read it as toys. So the basic three consonants are the same. The only thing that changes is the short vowels. If I did not see those short vowels, I could read it either like the first way of reading or the second way of reading. But as a skilled adult, if this word was in a sentence, I would know how to read it based on the context, its occurrence in the sentence. In other words, morphosyntax and the relationship or the function that word has in that sentence. This is another example of the same two texts, copied, pasted. The only difference is the highlighted aspect or parts. Those are the short vowels. So this is just to show you how the text might look different when it's voweled versus unvoweled. A common question we receive: when do short vowels disappear from text? And in the literature, I've read that they say by the end of grade 3 or grade 4. And unfortunately, that's not the truth. The truth is there is no consistency, there is no consensus or agreement about when to remove those vowels. So you will find them, I've seen them in grade 9 books. So it varies. Another characteristic of Arabic orthography is its allography. Allography refers to how the letter changes its shape depending on its occurrence in the word, whether it occurs in the beginning of the word, in the middle of the word, at the end of the word, connected with another letter, or at the end of the word, isolated from another letter. In English, we have the only analogy I could use is uppercase and lowercase. But in Arabic, we have the allographs, the different shapes. So we have 28 consonants, and a good number of those change their shapes. So you need to multiply at least twice, if not more. So you could say 28 multiplied by 3. So we're talking here about at least, it's not 90, but 90 different letters, but there are variations and differences. Also, the term ligaturing refers to connectivity between letters. Some letters connect, some letters don't, which means there will be words that have no connected letters to them. So they are disconnected from each other, but it's a one word. And there will be words where the letters are connected either partially or completely. This has implications for within word boundary and between word boundary as far as learning Arabic, how to read Arabic. And sometimes the connection is not only between two letters, but it's between one word and a morpheme. So morphemes get to be connected also to words in Arabic. So the one single word in Arabic might be fully packed with a lot of dense morphology, morphological information. And that's why here, a side note, are we recording? I am against measuring fluency in Arabic as correct word per minute, because a correct word per minute in English would be different from a correct word per minute in Arabic, simply because it is not fair or it is not equitable to count words like in, on, which is part of the word efficiency test, to have those on par with words that have kind of a phrase within the word or a sentence. So I could say something like, I taught them in one word, or I fed them that thing, the apple, whatever, in one word. Okay, so you can't compare or consider this on par with words like in, on. So again, is this backdrop, I would like to begin with the first two studies that we have published with my colleagues, international colleagues, and some of them with me at the University at Florida State University. I will begin with IRT analysis of Arabic letter knowledge. We basically wanted to know how many dimensions underlie Arabic letter knowledge, and if there is a difference between the three administered types of letter tasks or the letter measures we used. So we had 142 kindergarten Arabic speaking Palestinian kids, and they are from the Arabic side. So their main language is Arabic, as opposed to Hebrew being the first language. The measures we administered are letter recognition, letters in isolation, allograph recognition, and syllable recognition. I'm not expecting you to read this, but basically these are the letters in isolation, these are the allographs, and these are the syllables. You might say, why do you measure syllables? In Arabic, syllabic structure, the existence of a consonant plus a vowel is a must. So the cohesivity or consonant vowel cohesion is a must or is obligatory in the initial position of word. There is no word in standard Arabic that does not begin with a consonant and a vowel. So this is an obligatory kind of constraint on the representation, orthographic and phonological representation of the Arabic syllable in the initial position. And a lot of teachers actually teach those syllables. So we used parallel analysis and we used multidimensional IRT, and we wanted to see how many factors there are. So these types of analyses, and I'm grateful to Ashley Edwards for running all these stats for me. And basically what they tell us is which factors underlie these types of like the letter knowledge in Arabic, for example, which is what we are interested. Are they both fall under the same factor, or they exist by chance, or is there something there? So basically, this shows us or showed us that there are two factors in Arabic. Okay, so in multidimensional IRT, we compared the two factors with the one factor possibility. So we did not want to force only one factor by force. We wanted to see if there are underlying factors. And the results showed that the two-factor model fit significantly better than the one-factor model. So I highlighted the first column is factor 1, the second column is factor 2. So under the first column, those highlighted numbers align with the easy letters. So we call it the easy factor. And the other ones that are in bold are the more difficult letters. So it looks like our letters fall onto two factors. Some are easier than the other. I'm talking here about the letter recognition, the letters in isolation alone. And then keep in mind the two factors here for the letter recognition. And then we ran test information function, which is a type of IRT analysis, item response theory. It informs us more about precisely about what discriminates what, how much information can we get about a certain type of letter as far as ability of the child or the individual. So according to test information function, these two lines here are basically for the ones in the middle provide us with more information about children's ability when they are average performing children. So theta refers to the average ability. So this tells us that the allographs and syllable recognition provide us with far more information about the average group of children, more than factor 1, the easy factor of letter recognition, and factor 2, the difficult letters. The difficult letters, when they are in isolation, can provide us with enough information, sufficient information for the poorly performing kids at the end of the tail. For the highest performing kids there, none of these would provide us with information. You may ask, so how do we test the higher performing kids? Those kids were 5.5. The best measure for them would be single word reading, not letters anymore. So the letters would work best for the letters in isolation would be ideal for children who are 4, 4.5, 5. So next we wanted to know what features contribute to letter knowledge in Arabic. And there is a study by Kim et al. That was published about 4 or 5 years ago that compared different writing systems, different letters in different languages, English, Portuguese, Hebrew, and Korean. And they found out that it was the letter frequency that was the most important factor in as far as contributing to the difficulty of the letter or the easiness of the letter. So we wanted to explore this, but we also added to their study the developmental stage of the phoneme. So letters are written, but phonemes are produced orally. And children in Arabic do not produce all phonemes at the same age, which is the same as in English. So there is a developmental sequence for the production of the sounds in any language. So Arabic letters have their phonemes acquired in stages. Some phonemes are early developing, some are middle developing, and some are late developing. And also in Arabic, different from other languages, some letters have their sounds that have diglossic variations. So for example, in the Palestinian dialect, the sound or the letter Q, we don't say Q, we say Qa, has the diglossic variations either of Ka or Ga or A. So because of that, we wanted to explore all of these factors, how they contribute to the letter features. This basically shows that all 28 Arabic consonants fall on this graph. If the sign is large, it means that it signals that the sound, the letter is diglossic. If it is small, it is not diglossic. If it has a triangle, it means there is a visual similarity with another letter. If it doesn't have a triangle shape, if it is a circle shape, it means the visual similarity is not there between the letter and another letter. So it's a unique letter. And if its color is blue, it's a late developing sound. If it is green, it's an intermediate or middle developing sound. And if it is pink, it is an early developing sound. So this is just like a visual graph of the distribution of the Arabic consonants or letters. We explored, as I said, all of these factors: the letter frequency, the sound development or phoneme acquisition of that of the sound that corresponds to the letter, and if the letters were diglossic or not. And we also explored the letter sequence. A, B, C come at the beginning of the alphabet or the letters, whereas X, Y, Z come towards the end. So we wanted to see if this has a role or a factor that contributes to the ability to be able to recognize a certain letter. And we looked at visual similarity as well. So we ran cross-classified generalized random effect model, and basically it allows us to partition the variance between those that are due to the person versus the item. That's the good thing about the cross-classified generalized random effect. And we ran separate models for each of those factors. And results showed that when each of those factors, letter frequency, the development or phonological development of the sound, diglossia or not, letter sequence, visual similarity, we found that each of those was significant, statistically significant. However, when we did not find that the intermediate versus late were significant, and we did not find the letter sequence was significant, nor the visual similarity was, we did not find that sequence. But what I wanted to share with you is that when we put all of them simultaneously into the model, the letter frequency was the winner. So for each unit, for each increase in the letter frequency and how frequent it is, the likelihood of answering this letter correctly was a time and a half at least, if not more. So this shows that the letter frequency was related to letter difficulty, which confirms that letter frequency is a language general mechanism, and it aligns with the findings from the other 4 orthographies, English, Spanish, Korean, and Hebrew. That's it about letter knowledge. But all of this because I included letter knowledge in the longitudinal study that I will talk about. As far as Arabic morphology is concerned, Arabic morphology is dense because it manifests itself in its orthography at a big rate. How so? We have derivational and inflectional, but almost all languages, at least the ones I'm aware of, have both of that. But with Arabic, you cannot have any single word without having it derived. So in English, we can have a word like cat, like eat, but in Arabic, this doesn't work. In order to have any word derived in Arabic, it has to be combined by the root, which is a bound morpheme, and the word pattern, which is another bound morpheme. We have different word patterns. Some of them are only to derive verbs, and different word patterns specifically to derive nouns. And word patterns refer to the structure, the template on which you embed the letters in them, the consonantal letters. So all Arabic words are at least bimorphemic, if not more. And the way when we derive the words, as I said, you embed the root onto the pattern. The pattern provides you with grammatical information. If it is a verb, if it is a noun, what type of verb it is, what type of noun, is it an adjective, and so on. The root provides the core semantic meaning. So if I take 3 consonants, kataba, I can derive hundreds of words from this, but all of them will carry the same meaning, more or less, which is anything has to do with writing. So letter, write, written, wrote, writer, author, desk, all of these words will have kataba. In English, we could have write and writing and written sharing the same kind of letters, but if I want to derive a word, if I want to have the word desk, it will have different letters, D-E-S-K, from write, and so on. But in Arabic, any word that has to do with something with writing will have to have these 3 consonants. Arabic also has inflectional morphology. Basically, it has prefixes and suffixes that are added to the word to indicate tense, for example, present tense versus past tense. To also indicate all of these, we inflect for person. So I eat is different from she eats, is different from they eat, and so on and so forth. The verb will be inflected differently depending on who's the person talking. Is it a first person, second person, third person? And if it is singular versus plural. Arabic also inflects for dual. In English, we have only singular and plural. In Arabic, we have dual, two. So 2 apples will be different from 3 apples as far as inflectional marker. We inflect for gender. So she eats, he eats is the same in English, but in Arabic, the gender will mark differently on the verb and the noun as well. And the same with the tense, past tense, present tense, and so on. The reason on this slide I had vowels kind of separate, because short vowels and vowels play a role in both derivational morphology as well as inflection morphology. They have different roles. So they have roles for case marking. They have role for the verb mood. And this is like in Arabic heavily used. They have a role also for distinguishing the verb pattern, as I said. If it is verbal verb pattern, if it is a nominal verb pattern. So as you see here, the red vowels are different because here you have the what we call 3 consonantal root verb. To you, this might not be 3 because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To us, it has only 3 letters, ka, ta, ba. The vowels embedded or interwoven or interleaved in a non-linear way are not necessarily written. They could be omitted. Okay, that's why I would count this as triconsonantal root. And then this type of pattern or structure, which is comprised of vowels, as I said, vocalic structures or word pattern, mostly vocalic, has the a, e that gives the name of the doer of the action. So whenever there is a, e, that gives the doer of the action. Also, the vowels would indicate indefiniteness, the absence of vowels, short vowels. So if there is, the addition of short vowels would indicate indefiniteness versus definite. In English, we say the or a as opposed to an apple, an apple or the apple. But in Arabic, you could express this with the short vowels. So I will present here the research on Arabic reading using morphology, but before, because of short of time, I will I'll tell you why I want to share the studies on Arabic morphology with you. In this study in 2019, John and I found out that Arabic morphological knowledge or morphological awareness contributed to different reading outcomes. The largest was to reading comprehension. So because of the importance of morphological awareness in Arabic reading, different reading outcomes, word reading fluency, text reading fluency, comprehension, pseudo-word, we decided to run more studies. So in Arabic, it's no secret that there are lack of standardized tools, and it's mostly experimental tools. And because the existing tools assessing morphology could work for Arabic, but miss the idea of the root awareness, because the root is a core feature of Arabic reading. So we decided to develop a measure of root awareness and to validate this measure and see its construct and predictive validity as well, to predict different reading outcomes. And we tested third grade children, 194 children. We administered all of these tests and we developed a root awareness measure. And this is just an example of our root awareness measure. So we would show this to the child and we would explain that this verb or this word has other words that are related, not only in shape, but it has to be related to the meaning of it. And we used foils or distractors that are related to semantics or phonology and orthography. The only thing close I could come up with in English is this example I provided you here. But if you look at the first 2 words, the target and the first choice, the first word means to bake bread. And the second one, which is exactly the same, except with the diacritic, at the end, but it means a piece of news. So it has nothing to do with, orthographically, it looks very different, but the meaning is not. So we analyzed the data. We developed 20 items like those, like the example I just showed you, 20 items. We did specify those items using confirmatory factor analysis. And we also retained the items that were only had an item corrected total correlation of larger than 0.40. So after our one factor model was specified using the confirmatory factor analysis, we used structure equation modeling to predict reading. Those are the loadings for the 15 items. We retained them. So we retained only 15 items based on the loading. And this is the model fit. It shows an acceptable model fit of the data. And we used the SEM, structure equation modeling, to predict word reading. And I will show you. So basically, those are the 15, those are the 15 items, and they all have significant path to the root awareness as a latent variable. And then there is a significant path from root awareness to the higher order latent variable. We called it achievement, i.e. Reading achievement, based on the lower level latent variables, reading accuracy, reading fluency, and reading comprehension, which were all derived based on those measures that we administered. We also controlled for PPVT, picture vocabulary test. And this study showed that root awareness accounted for unique variance in reading achievement about 43-point-something% above and beyond the control of vocabulary. And vocabulary accounted for about 5% in word reading achievement. So the second study we wanted to know about, we'll have to rush, I guess. We don't have much time. Okay, so in this study, we wanted to predict Arabic word reading and using a cross-classified generalized random effects analysis, because most of the studies, or actually all of the studies in Arabic, they only look at the person level, at the individual level. None of the studies, until we did this, and until now actually, have looked at the word feature level. So we wanted to look at both the word features as well as the person or the individual performance, looking at both with the lens of morphology, because morphology is a core factor in Arabic. So we wanted to see in a sample of 303 children, native Arabic speaking children, how would they perform on word reading and on morphological awareness. But for word reading, we looked at all of these word features. How many letters in the word, how many connectivity in the word, how many syllables, how many morphemes per word, and so on and so forth. So we looked at all of these factors, including the orthographic frequency and the root type frequency, and if the word is a noun or a verb or a question word or a pronoun or an adjective, the part of speech. And again, we used cross-classified generalized random effect because it allows us to partition the variance that is due to the person versus the item or the features of the item. So according to this, when we use the individual models, almost all of them were significantly contributing to the prediction of word reading. But when we entered all of them in the equation simultaneously, the only two that survived, or not survived, the only two that were significant in this simultaneous model were the number of morphemes and the morphological awareness of the person or the student. Okay, and those two are morphological factors. So for each increase of one morpheme in a word, the likelihood of reading that word correctly has dropped, which means adding more morphemes to the words will make it more complex. But this is how the language works. And for each unit of increase in the person or the student's morphological knowledge or ability, the likelihood of reading a word correctly increased 1.5 times more. So this will have implications as far as teaching and as far as assessment of morphology. I'm going to have to jump to the longitudinal study, hoping to spark some interest and get some insight or feedback from some of you. We here wanted to examine to predict word reading from the code-related, established code-related skills. In the literature or the science of reading, we know there are code-related skills or emergent literacy skills that has been confirmed across orthographies to contribute to word reading. Those factors or the constellation of these factors are letter knowledge, orthographic processing, phonological awareness, morphological awareness, vocabulary, naming speed, and working memory. Working memory, very few studies in Arabic have included working memory. So we don't know exactly the clear picture about working memory. So inspired by the DEAR model, direct indirect effects model of reading, we wanted to try and see to try and explore the role of working memory in this study. This is a longitudinal design. Why? Because we have, despite the fact that Arabic orthography is used by 2/3 of a billion of people, there are only 5 longitudinal studies in Arabic as of today. Okay, let's say there are 6, but I don't think so. So we wanted to build on this literature. And these longitudinal studies, this is the age range, some of them within the same year even, just using 2 times and point. And some of them looked only at executive functions alone. Some of them did not include the letters. Some of them, if they included letters, included only 5 letters or 6 letters and so on. So we wanted to build on this useful work, body of knowledge, and we did our longitudinal study to investigate the role of a range of predictors: letter knowledge, phonological awareness, morphological awareness, all of those code-related skills, as well as we wanted to know the role of working memory. And we hypothesized that all of these will play a unique variance in Arabic word reading. And we hypothesized, based on the DEAR model by Kim, that working memory will be indirectly related to word reading. We used structure equation modeling. We tested this in kindergarten children, and we had parental questionnaire to have information about, because we wanted to control for parental education as well, and gender. These are the measures we administered for letter knowledge. Remember the studies I presented on letter knowledge? We also administered phonological awareness, morphological awareness. We used the word analogy. We also administered rapid automatized naming, working memory, and we did those as measures of grade 2 measures. We tested word reading efficiency, and we tested also syllable reading efficiency and the pseudo word reading. So to go quickly in the next few minutes I have left, I will share with you the results of this structure equation modeling. And here we wanted to test, in this model, we wanted to see the relationship of kindergarten working memory independently from the other factors and directly with word reading. So we tested this, and then we've noticed that there was a high correlation, 0.9 something, between letter knowledge and RAM, rapid automatized naming. So because of this collinearity, we decided to have them both as a latent variable. We call that latent variable letter knowledge RAM, rapid automatized naming. So we combined both of them. In this one, in this figure 2A, we explored the role of working memory directly with grade 2 reading, the role of working memory in kindergarten with grade 2 reading directly. Whereas in figure 2B, we explored the role of working memory in kindergarten with word reading through these code-related measures. So this model shows us that we tested for all these factors in kindergarten, their relationship, as well as their longitudinal relationship. We tested whether working memory was directly related to grade 2 reading when it was administered in kindergarten, or it was moderated by the other emergent literacy skills. And for parsimony, we opted for the indirect path between working memory in kindergarten and grade 2 word reading. What's important here is the fact that we found that this latent variable, which we called letter knowledge RAN, was significantly related to grade 2 reading. So even though the letter knowledge in this kindergarten age or stage, its strength was sustained longitudinally 2 years later in word reading. So it was significant in word reading 2 years later. And it accounted for a significant amount of variance. We also found that kindergarten letter knowledge and kindergarten phonological awareness were related significantly. We did not find a relationship between phonological awareness in kindergarten and grade 2 reading. To our dismay, we did not find a relationship or a significant relationship between kindergarten morphological awareness and grade 2 reading. And I would like to share with you some interpretations, possible interpretations here. First, I will talk about the phonological awareness. Phonological awareness in kindergarten was not related to grade 2 word reading, despite all of the literature that confirms the robust role of phonological awareness in Arabic word reading. But all of the literature we know of did not do this longitudinally as a design. It was concurrent studies. However, what's important here is if we remove the letter knowledge latent variable from the picture, phonological awareness will be related to word reading in grade 2. And I wonder if this has to do with the acrophonic nature between the letters and the phonology or the sounds of the letters, or it has to do with the fact that those word reading measures were vowelized, which means they were transparent, i.e. there's a component of phonology here. However, when we kept the letter knowledge, which has a lot of variables here, this latent variable, its role stopped. This does not say phonological awareness does not have a role in word reading in grade 2, but it doesn't have it, and it does not have a role above and beyond all of these other measures. So it does play a role, and the proof is when we remove the letter knowledge from the picture, then it continues to have a role. As far as morphological awareness, it did not contribute to grade 2 word reading. A couple of interpretations I have here, and I'm hoping to get some insight from all of you, is perhaps because the word reading measure was timed to 45 seconds. So all of the densely polymorphemic words were more towards the end of the list. So perhaps if this measure of reading was not timed, maybe morphology or morphological awareness could have played a role in a grade 2 word reading. So that's one of the interpretations I'm thinking of. Another possibility is perhaps we should have measured or used more than one measure of morphological awareness. As you can see here, we used multiple measures for letters, multiple measures for rapid automatized naming. So maybe if we had used more than one measure of morphological awareness, the picture might be different. That's what I'm thinking about morphological awareness, because it's really puzzling, particularly when we think about the strong role of morphological awareness on one of the earliest slides I shared with you that showed it played a role in every single reading outcome, above and beyond all of the other factors: phonological awareness, orthographic processing, rapid automatized naming, cognitive measures, verbal, nonverbal. It's even survived the control of word reading itself in other hierarchical regression model. So here it was surprising that morphological awareness did not account for unique variance in grade 2 word reading. And this model, as I said earlier, maybe, or I neglected to say, we controlled for parental education, and we controlled also for gender. The mother's role of education played more of a stronger role in children's grade 2 word reading. So this is something that aligns also with the international literature. There are just a few implications here, and just to wrap up, Arabic letters are multidimensional. This should have implications for what to assess and when to assess what. with what age group, and all of them or not. Arabic letter knowledge, automaticity, and accuracy and fluency, both do play a role longitudinally in grade 2 word reading. And this has implications for instruction and maybe for intervention studies. Morphology plays a crucial role when we saw the number of morphemes playing a significant factor in word reading, in the possibility of getting a word read correctly, and morphological awareness as well. So this should have also implications for instruction. Working memory does play, this is the first study to document that working memory plays a role in Arabic word reading, although it's indirect through the other code-related measures. And we should not underestimate that the interaction of all of these factors in Arabic, in my view, like adding the sums would equal more than what we have, the addition of the sums. It's like the whole picture of Arabic linguistics and Arabic orthography is very intricate, like any other language, I guess. We should use multiple measures in the future. In future longitudinal study, I recommend we use multiple measures for phonological awareness, because phonological awareness tasks vary from shallow to deep. So that's something we could take into consideration. We could use more morphological awareness tasks, maybe using the root awareness measure. It could be done orally, maybe root productivity also. We need to test reading words without time limit. We need also to do a longitudinal study on reading unvowelized words. So perhaps another interpretation occurred to me also, and I wrote about it a paragraph, is perhaps because our word reading measure was vowelized, children used a phonological method as opposed to a morphological recoding method. So in the early stage, when you read vowelized words, you have to phonologically recode or code. And maybe if they were not vowelized, every single letter was vowelized, maybe we could have used a morphological processing method in reading those words. We need more longitudinal studies. We need also to control for vocabulary, oral vocabulary in spoken Arabic and standard vocabulary, because Arabic is diglossic. And I apologize for the speed. Thank you so much for your attention.